All right, the next item on our agenda is the review, the request for modification to Zero Summer Street proposed project to determine if it is substantial or insubstantial change in approval to comprehensive permit Alta Abington Station. And
I'm not interested.
are we going to have him come up and talk about what the modifications are?
Yeah. I don't know.
Is there a representative?
Yeah, he's right here. Or whoever. Just let us know your name and how you relate to the project.
Good evening, Paul Matos with Allen and Major Associates. We're the civil engineers for the project. Mark Sack, who represents the developer, is there. So we're here before you for some changes. We were before Conservation Commissions for a notice of intent, and hearing the concerns that some of the members had from the Conservation Commissions, we made some modifications to the plans. And what we basically did was on the southerly side there by the existing pond, by Summit Street, there used to be a garage that was there with some parking spaces. So what we did was remove those spaces to relocate the 8-space parking garage to the garage C, which is located at the northeast corner by the railroad tracks. You want me to go up there?
Yeah,
real quick?
that'd be great.
You want to bring this up, maybe to the original, if this helps.
So basically, there was an 8-car parking garage that was here with 2 parking spaces here. There was 4 parking spaces here. So what we did is we shifted all that stuff away from the wetlands there to provide 25 feet buffer to the pavement there. So we relocated the parking garage here that was an 8-space down to 5. We lost a couple of parking spaces there, but we gained 7 spaces here by the dog park because we reduced the parking spaces.
Reduce the
Reduce the
space.
dog park to add parking spaces there, and then we changed a couple spaces here. From 8 parking spaces, we made 10 compact spaces there. So the total net of the project, we still had the 300 parking spaces that was required by comprehensive permit. There's no changes to the number of units, there's no changes to the square foot of the building, everything stays the same.
So all that changes, this in here, when we went through Concom, they had some reservations about this building being close to this resource
Right,
area. So to
right.
appease them, we pulled it out. At one point, we were as close as, I think, 10 feet, and now we're at 29.3, so it almost got to 30 feet, and just relocated them elsewhere.
And
That was the
any
building.
turn-in ratios or anything, does that affect anything on the turn-in ratios?
No, the vehicular path is still.
And for the fire department too, did they notified?
The fire department was notified of, received a hard copy of the packet along with the police department. And I checked with them today because I hadn't heard anything. I think they were initially concerned, and I heard from Captain Cotty that there are no concerns, therefore, that's why they did not, because I told them everything has to be submitted to me in a memo form. They didn't submit anything, I just wanted to check with that, yeah, so they're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That was my question, too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, good, thank you.
The drainage, there's no change in the drainage.
Correct, very minimal, yeah. We just relocated a few parking spaces.
So you're not talking too much difference here, right?
Right.
They addressed some concerns, the conservation.
Right, I can understand the reason why.
It might actually improve the aesthetic of the
It's
place, too.
190 units.
True.
190?
It's 190
Provide
units.
a little sound barrier
One-
from
oh,
the
one-
train.
Yeah,
Oh, 198, sorry. It's small. Okay, I see it.
Okay.
poor dogs though, small pot.
Small
Yeah,
dog.
small park.
There's one across the
There is
street, though.
The one that the town just built.
Yeah,
right
it's a
across
big
the
one.
street.
Yeah.
Correct. It's still a pretty good size dog
Yep.
relief area, yeah.
It's 350 square feet, or 1350?
1350.
I did speak with the chairman of the Conservation Commission last week, and he is recommending an insubstantial change. He had thought that an order of conditions would be issued by now, but it hasn't been issued. So he did issue a memo that we received this afternoon. And I would recommend that this be an insubstantial modification.
So it meets the criteria as
Yes.
an insubstantial
Yes.
modification.
There's no unit change, there's no building type change. They're not increasing parking by 10% or any of the thresholds that are in the regulations they're not triggered.
Okay.
And then furthermore, right before this meeting, I did speak with their counsel. They do want a written decision. So their counsel agreed to extend the time for you to act into next week so we can issue a written decision that can be filed with the town clerk. They can then record that decision, or they can use it for financing, whatever they need to use it for. So the only thing I need to know is if I can base the decision on your submittal. Nothing changed from your submittal to this board, right? Between when you submitted it and now? Okay.
It would be based on this.
Right, based on
They
the,
did it, the engineer did a narrative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
So
So
this
I'll
is-
just base the decision on that narrative.
yeah, so this is
Yeah, it was
what we
very
agreed on in the beginning, this site, looking at it right now.
Correct.
Except
It's one
for
building.
the modifications.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's one building, and it's what they agreed to during
Right.
the remand. And then they just, all they're changing is parking,
All right.
and the dog park.
Um, Can we take comments from the public on
Yes.
this? If they want?
You can if you want, it's not a public hearing,
Right,
but it
that's
is,
what I mean.
it is a public meeting, so it's up
Right.
to you as the chairman.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would have any comment on these changes? Okay. So then we would look for a motion, right? To request a motion.
I would do a motion, I don't have the engineer's narrative in front of me. I would do a motion to, just whatever the date, yeah, I can do it, and somebody can say, so move if that helps.
Yeah,
Thank you. So, a motion to accept the changes as described in the Allen and Major memorandum dated November 27th, 2023, as insubstantial.
So moved.
second? You said so.
I said so moved, yeah.
Yep.
Second?
You said all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, my hearing's really gone down.
It's okay.
That was quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to commence the public part of the zoning board of appeals meeting for tonight, Thursday, December 14th, 2023. The first items on our agenda are approval of minutes. Do we want to address those tonight or put that off until next month?
Yeah, they didn't
They didn't-
print theirs out.
Well, also, I think, I wasn't here and Bob
It-
was. so
right,
he should
right.
He should vote on,
Okay, so you want to just table it until
Yeah.
January?
Yeah.
But-
Okay, which is 2 months, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have the October 12th one, so.
Yeah, I don't either
don't?
because Nancy was doing that, so I'll find that out. So
Okay.
it's the 10, you definitely have the 11.
Yes, I have the ninth.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do that. The only other thing on, I wanted to see if the board can vote on was the agenda.
Schedule?
The schedule
Oh,
for the
schedule.
year.
we'll make that one, or that one, or that one.
Okay.
Oh,
And so
sorry.
what I try to do is make it that the date of the zoning board public hearing meeting is the deadline date from the month before, so it makes it easier to track in that manner, if you notice. It correlates. Nancy likes this layout also. She liked the fact that, you know, today would be the deadline for January, that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So we have to take a motion and approve these?
Yes,
Okay, so,
administratively, yes.
yeah, so can I have a motion on the matter of the scheduled Board of Appeals meetings?
For
I'll make a motion-
2024,
I'll
yeah.
make a motion to approve the 2024 zoning board of appeals meeting schedule.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
So.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. And we have to wait till 7:05 to get to the seeking of testimony from folks on the other matters, but we only have a minute or so to wait.
Oh, 1 minute,
Okay.
We don't
And
want
that's
to run
this one.
afoul of any
of any legal.
notices. Yeah.
Check it out.
Look at that, hold on,
Don't
There
get
it is.
Don't get
Uh-oh.
excited, everybody.
locked down.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, it is now 7:05,
Okay,
at least according to my phone.
It's 4:05 according to
Yes.
the
Yeah.
computer.
The first item that we're going to take up this evening is the petition by ID Sign Group for special permit under 175-58.2I for a digital sign or electronic sign, and for waivers under 58.3.B1. The property owner is Ebenezer Baptist Church, and property address is 30 Central Street, Abington, Massachusetts, located on Assessor's Map 40, Lot 41, in the residential R30 zone. Is someone here from ID Sign Group to come up and chat with us about that? Please let us know your name and how you were affiliated with the application.
Good evening, my name's Jamie Fisher. I'm with ID Sign Group located in Easton, Massachusetts, 9 Bristol Drive. I'm here representing Ebenezer Baptist Church, kind of sent by proxy. My understanding is that we're seeking a waiver under 175-58.3B, as well as a special permit under 175-58.2. My understanding is the rationale behind the special permit is the source of illumination behind the dimensional acrylic letters on the header panel, as well as the electronic message center that's illuminated beneath the header of this monument sign. As you can see here, there's a rendering. The dimensional letters are projecting beyond the face of the aluminum capsule, and the EMC board, the electronic message center, located below the copy, is 91 inches wide, 41 inches tall. This sign took place of an older sign that was previously located at the front of Ebenezer Church. The old sign was removed and disposed of and replaced with this new sign. My understanding is that we were approved to install the sign. We had received a permit, and it was unfortunately brought to our attention just after receipt of the permit that this sign would actually fall under that special category.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or?
Do you need me to speak to it?
Yeah, Marion, fill us in a little bit.
Mary, can you help us?
So the building permit was issued for the sign, and we had we were fine with it. However, we had no idea it was an electronic message board sign. Then we received calls from a safety standpoint, because this particular sign is so low, and it's from cars driving. So I received some video from neighbors, as it is an R30 zone, that the electronic board was illuminating, and messages were flashing under 5 seconds at a time, and people were driving by there, and it was, they were like, it's hard to like not see that kind of light. So so I called ID Signs and worked with them and said, you just need to come up for, I thought it was just gonna be a plain sign, not an electronic illuminated sign. And also, we do have criterias, under that zoning bylaw between 60-minute message boards and things of that nature. So I said, I think the best thing to do is to file for a special permit with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And in turn, a waiver would be required, because the third sign here would be the electronic sign. So that's why they had to file for a special permit and a waiver.
So there's other signs there?
There will be on the structure. So there's always one sign allowed on the structure, one sign allowed on the property line somewhere. This was an existing Emerald Hall sign formerly, so the location didn't change. The footings were already inspected, everything was good, but then it was electronic. And the Ebenezer Baptist Church part, that's always there. It's anything below that was all electronic.
Electronic meaning digital, where
Digital.
you can change the message?
And change the message.
Intermittent
So what
messaging.
we asked them to do, and they did, very kindly, was to close the message board off until a public hearing is held.
And the zoning requirements for an electronic sign, could you remind us of what those limitations are?
There's a few of them. The biggest one is the 60-second message board.
No chasing borders, no message broadcast greater
Yes.
than 60-second intervals. There are ambient light after dusk, and a self-mitigating sensor
Right.
to account for the ambient light. There may be a few others.
Right, must be, one must be part of a non-temporary sign. 2, message board may not be changed any less than once every 60 seconds unless a longer time is required by the zoning board of appeals. 3, does not incorporate any form of scrolling, fading, or movement of any kind as part of the change of message. 4, does not incorporate any form of animation, moving letters, flashing images, and flashing lights. 5, does not incorporate any form of chasing borders or animation of any kind in the sign structure or message. 6, does not incorporate or use live or recorded video, feed, or sound. And the last, sign shall utilize auto dimming to external ambient light conditions.
Which means it basically gets turned off after a certain time, dark?
If that's, yeah, I mean, and
Self-adjusting.
yeah, I mean, it's a place of assembly. At the same time, it's in a residential zone.
It's a matter of
So, you know, it's not,
Have we had any standards we've used for when signs need to be turned off?
I
believe
believe
it's
it's like 10
11 to
PM, 11
6.
PM, 11 PM to 6, yeah. So,
It's 11 to 6.
and at times, there have been times when the zoning board has asked for the petitioner to do it at 10 PM because it's really bright, you know, or, you know, 10 PM, your business is closed, that's at 5 PM, can you turn it off at 10? And it's usually agreed upon, one of the conditions.
And has anyone complained about it being too bright
It
at
was,
night?
it was a little bit bright, it was a little bit bright when it started, and again, it's because most of the electronic signs in town are higher, sitting higher on a pylon, so the electronic part is a little higher. This one is equatable to a passenger and a driver, you know, at the same time, so that's why it was changing every 5 seconds. So that's why people were calling and saying it's a little too bright. And again, I never even, other than seeing it when it was sent to me, I never really paid attention to the messages, but even during daytime, it was moving a little
So
too
otherwise,
fast.
it's distracting to the driver.
It's distracting, yeah, and that was daytime, and, you know, nighttime, the lights are brighter, you know.
Right? Okay.
So if I may speak to the fact that it's closer to the ground, this is considered a monument sign rather than a pylon sign, so
Right.
the weight is actually seated above final grade. The rationale behind keeping that sign lower rather than higher is to increase visibility, because there is a tree line that does obstruct the view of this monument sign as you're heading westbound. So it allows for you to actually see the sign for a greater, longer period of distance. At least that was the rationale behind the client having purchased this structure. If it were elevated and broadcasted up higher, then you would lose it sooner in the tree line. As far as, you know, the intermittent flashing, you know, obviously the sign had been recently installed, and it was only, our client was essentially working through understanding the abilities of this
The capabilities,
technology.
yeah. Yes.
And he is certainly susceptible to changing colors, because colors do have an impact. If it's a darker color, maybe a red or a black is projected there, with a darker background, it may not cast as much light illumination in comparison to a fully white background, for instance. So there are ways to mitigate against the opacity of the light.
Does it obstruct any view when you're pulling out of the parking lot or anything like that, or pulling in?
I do not believe so in Emerald Hall. I mean, it's a big parking lot and a
Okay.
roundabout, so.
Do we have any questions for him directly?
Not right now, no. Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, let's wrap it up together. So you're looking for a special permit for the electronic sign and then a waiver for the third?
Yes,
Because this
sir.
is a third sign. So as far as the waiver goes, you need to show that there's some kind of a hardship, financial or otherwise, to the applicant, that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. So can you speak a little bit about if there is a hardship for the waiver?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as hardship, I think the greatest hardship here is just wayfindability. With the structure of the building, the church having been set back so far on the building's frontage, I think this certainly helps for those navigating by to recognize the building and execute their turn in a timely manner. So wayfindability is certainly, paramount to the hardship question, as well as, they have a congress of individuals and patrons that use this church. So having the ability to broadcast an interchangeable message is quite a tool for the church itself. They can spread joy or hope in this circumstance, or let the congregation know of upcoming times or deviations to the church's schedule. And if I could just state for the record that the permit that I have here, permit number B-23-16, does say this is issued to Timothy Fisher with ID Sign Group, has permission to install one, I'll skip all of the dimensions, deep aluminum monument sign with faux brick paneling at the base and columns, two-sided with white acrylic push-through copy, and an EMC. It's pretty clear that an EMC was approved at the time that this permit was approved, which had later led to the decision for my client to then purchase this $45,000 sign. That sign would not have been purchased if not for the approval of an EMC board. So it's an unfortunate circumstance.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here from the public that wants to speak on this matter?
You don't bite? All right.
Sean Riley, 271 Dorsey Street. I operate the digital sign at the end of the driveway here at Glenwood's Way, which is very similar to this one, where it's lower, it's not a pedestal sign, and it has a digital sign, and it has a permanent illuminated top, which says Abington High School, Abington Middle School. I just want to clarify, is the waiver is because you're considering this as essentially two signs?
Yes.
I would ask you to reinterpret that, because I believe what it is it's one sign. It just has, and the sign total has to conform to the sign dimensional limitations. So, for example, if this said Ebenezer Baptist Church, and on the bottom it said Emerald Hall Function Facility, that's still one sign with two different businesses. So it's one sign. You do need to get the special permit if you want to make one of those digital. So just to throw that out there, I think you still need the special permit to get the digital sign approved and put the limitations that are in the bylaw unless you adjust them. But I don't know that you need a waiver, because the way the sign down at the Glenwood's Way was interpreted, that's one sign. It's a two-sided sign, considered though one sign. So if that's the case, then that is one sign, and the one on the building is the second sign.
Was that written up that way when you had your permit? Did it say?
That's all
this-
I mean, I don't have it with me.
Yeah, but do you remember if it was?
Yeah. No, I know we didn't
If it was
get-
a two-sided, was it mentioned that it was a two-sided one, or?
Oh, yeah, well, that's always been the case, like even a pole sign, if it's two-sided,
Okay.
in a bylaw, considered
Okay,
one sign.
all right.
As long as you conform to
And
the,
one sign face.
what's that?
So it's also considered one sign face is my interpretation.
You're
As
right.
written within the bylaws, as long as the front mirrors the rear, then that's considered
Okay.
one sign.
So, you might have, there's other properties in town that have 2 or 3 businesses, so there's 3 different business signs, but it's one sign as long as it conforms to the dimensions. So that's just a thought. You may not have to grant the waiver if the board feels it's not necessary. I just want to put that
Well,
out there.
I'm going to rely on,
Yeah,
Right.
right, I'm just
Right.
saying,
if the building department thinks it's two signs, then I think he wants to get the waiver.
And
And-
we do,
Right, but-
pylon two faced, one sign. That's how we do, that's
Yeah,
how,
okay.
that's how we see it.
yeah, the question
Yeah.
becomes, is that
Right.
design 2 signs or 1 sign? That's all.
You consider it two signs.
In my opinion, I consider it
So
two
I
signs.
think you're better off getting the waiver than the.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
belts and suspenders, and if you're
Right.
of the mind, then that's great, grant it to him and he keeps it. But-
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Would anyone else like to speak on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Riley.
Yes.
All right, with any further questions for him?
I do not.
Can we get a motion to close the public part of the discussion of this?
Move we close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What do you guys think? I mean, I think the waiver thing is a good idea, belt and suspenders, because it sets a precedent for other signs to come before us if we have some concern about how that's done.
I think maybe it should be in the building permit, saying that
Well, I think they've made the determination that it's 2 signs, so I think,
Right.
and he's requested a waiver, so I think
Yes,
we
we
should
should-
certainly
yeah.
take it up. Yeah,
Unless he requests.
yeah.
Um,
And on the special
So,
permit,
The,
okay.
the 2 signs, the sign on the building, is it gonna be 2 signs on the building or just 1?
Usually when it's affixed to the structure, it's a one sign. you
Okay,
know.
I just wanna make sure, because I
And-
know it's a long building.
Right,
I know
right.
that, so.
Like, for example, the restaurant down the street, it will be, that's, you know, that they do the letters, the channel letters, but it's one sign. That's
Okay.
this, and then they have a pylon sign. They haven't fixed it. I don't know if then they have the electronic sign below that.
Okay. And it does sound like there was some form of miscommunication about the building permit for an electronic sign or not.
Correct.
That, and, you know, and so your client acted in, you know, with a building permit, your client acted on that permit being issued, and so here we are today.
But I mean, this is why we get the bylaws, because we don't wanna have signs that are out of control too.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, that's why we worked hard on those at the time.
I don't know, as long as the, you know, the local citizenry's concerns about the rate at which the sign renews and the time of day when it goes off in a residential neighborhood, you know,
And that's all regulated in the bylaw anyway,
Right.
so,
So it's
you
already-
could make it stricter if you wanted to, but that's,
well, and nobody's shown up here to ask for that.
Right.
So,
But you did have a complaint, though.
well, yeah, Marion received,
More than one complaint or just one?
It was 2 complaints. One was at night, and one was just during the day, because they said, wow, if it looks like this. And again, I truly believe, because the pastor, he's a very, 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 very nice man and easy to work with, but I do believe that during the time it went up and it started, I think he was trying to figure
Might have been
out.
playing with
like,
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
figure out the components of it, but in the interim, it kept, while he was figuring it out, it kept
cycles.
showing that way. And so the residents in that area were concerned, is this the manner? Like, and it was pretty bright from what I saw, so
So
it's
has
just
it
a
been
matter.
toned down since? Has it?
It's been off since.
Turned off
It's been
entirely.
turned off since. So in my opinion, it's not egregious, it's just a matter of, just like he said, it just needs to be figured out darker, maybe at night, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're open
and-
to
and-
discussion.
and
It needs to be-
discussion.
it needs
60
to be
seconds gonna
adjusted.
make a difference, what daytime to nighttime, that kind of thing, and everything is digital and can be timed accordingly, and I think it'll be fine.
It's open to discussion for, you know,
Yeah.
changing the colors or patterns or whatnot. And then
Correct.
too, that area is like, it's typically always been a low dimmed area there too.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
it's kind of a shock
definitely.
when you're going through there that now
Yeah.
you actually have some illumination.
Right.
But the fact that, you know, it got issued because it wasn't clearly described in my interpretation for what I was, you know, given for the submittal. But, you know, immediately once we found out, you know, we had them just shut it off for now until we could get here and see what we could do with it.
and my compliments to your client for just shutting it off until we can
Yeah,
figure
he's
this
got
out.
a
Of course.
pretty significant project going on there.
Yeah,
And so he's been pretty good to deal with.
Yeah.
So let's get some good professionals. in.
Well, it seems to me it needs to be brought to a standard,
Yeah.
you know, so people won't be complaining about it. You know, the color, the brightness, how long you keeping it on. We just gotta make it safe for the people driving by.
Absolutely.
And if I may add, I mean, in reality, even a minute seems pretty quick. The target audience is driving by at 30 miles an hour, right? They're not going to have the opportunity to read it multiple times.
We just worry about distractions too, especially on
Understood.
that street too.
I would personally, if been given the decision, I would mandate every 5 minutes, because it really doesn't
I was gonna
make much of a
suggest
difference. Those driving by only see one message. Throwing up 3 messages in 3 minutes does not actually behoove those that are trying to broadcast a message, because those passing by only see it once.
and just to Mr. Riley's point, as far as the sign up here, that's not changing
No,
on the
no,
custom.
no,
There's
it's
one
set.
message and it stays
Right.
there, and so, yeah.
If it were my sign, I would broadcast one message a day. There's no purpose in changing that message.
So you can condition it.
Yeah, I think maybe it would be helpful to, even if you say 5 minutes to start with, and unless we receive,
Some sort of safety issues
Yeah.
that it creates, if we get calls on that,
yeah,
it's creating issues, then you'd have to.
yeah.
I'm kind of like going with him on the one-day thing,
One
you
day,
know?
well, that,
You make a
whatever,
message.
whatever you guys think, I'm happy with that.
I hate to tamper down our ability, but
Yeah.
I do think that he is certainly
think that's
susceptible to, cooperating
If
with.
it doesn't work, he can always apply to change the permit.
Yeah,
Because of the other thing that the people who were distracted by it was, both commented was, it never was like this. But again, it was Emerald Hall sign. There was
Right,
no
right.
lighting or anything.
Yeah.
So, going from that for how many decades to this, they were like, whoa,
Yeah, that's a big
little.
change.
Yeah, it was a big change. And, but I absolutely can work in, in.
And it's built, I mean, they spent the money, it's up.
Yeah.
You
And
just
you-
have to have some self-control of how they use it.
right, you said you have a substantial project, otherwise modifying the interior of that building.
Correct.
Right,
And, we've had safety meetings down there, and we've met the design professionals down there, and they've been really good to work with.
Yeah.
So he's got a real good sense to what our needs as a community as a whole.
yeah,
This gentleman here says that he's open for discussion.
yeah,
Just obviously the concern in the view, of drivers,
yeah. It seemed like at night, the main thing would be just how bright it is.
Right, so the color selection and pattern selection, I think, would make a
Yeah.
big difference.
Correct.
Is it something we would normally do to condition, like the condition that it has to be, that the final color variation on that has to meet the building department's requirements, or the, so that you could negotiate with them on that, I guess is my point. Or should we just,
Yeah, I don't know if I can legally do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the
And I
standard,
would
what do we
think
have
it-
as standards on this?
Right, I think based on the sign company having the most experience between the lighting at night, I would probably draw to their, opinion on what
Yeah.
kind of lighting to use at night, message not changing, that kind of thing. And then in the daytime, it could be a little bit different because it's daytime. But I would probably, ask them for their opinion more so because this is their wheelhouse,
right,
yeah.
yeah,
It could also be a reactionary decision too, if it's set at something and it's not really working out, as long as there's discussion for the ability to keep searching for a remedy that works.
yeah. Are we ready to entertain a motion, or you can have more discussion on this?
I think I'm all set.
Okay.
Well, all we wanted to do is make it safe for everybody, so maybe put some time limit on it, or
Yeah, I would, one
brightness.
one message
Yep.
per every 24-hour period,
Yep.
I
Yeah,
would suggest.
I agree with that.
And then,
And the color too, to make sure that's not distracting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you turn that.
That's a hard, that one's really hard.
Well, the thing is, again, it's a residential area, this is something new.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's distracting, so
Yeah,
we have to make it less distracting to drivers.
yeah,
It's built already.
yep. So,
Anything else you think of?
No. I'm just not sure how you term making it less distracting and make it as enforceable. I don't know who's determines what's distracting and what's not.
well, I think, the 24-hour, once every 24-hour sign change, and
Reduce
then,
that.
and then the post-dusk
Yeah.
light management, that seems like, even if we can't define terms specifically, we're gonna have to rely on, experts to tell us what works, and works in terms of both, road safety.
And if it becomes distracting, I guess they're gonna
Come
contact
forward
you, and
again.
you're
Right,
gonna have to.
right, because I'm gonna
deal with
assume
it.
that they're gonna follow bullet point 7 sign, show utilize auto dimming to external ambient light conditions.
Right,
And they're familiar with.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not a hazard to pedestrian or traffic.
Very close to floor, right?
What's that?
Very close to me.
Yeah, we're close to, yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Rath.
If I may, I feel as though he has been very cooperative throughout the entire course of this extent. I think limiting to one message per day is inherently limiting when we do have the ability to broadcast multiple messages in a day. And I don't think our intent is necessarily to showcase message next to message next to message, but having the ability to broadcast even just 2 messages in
Yeah.
a day, just a variability, I think is a majority of the reason as to why he purchased a sign with an electronic message center. If given only the opportunity to broadcast 1 message every 24 hours, his money would have been, much better spent towards a Pronto track, where he can go like a gas station and insert letters on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? So I think I would hate to define a line in the sand
No more than
and
2.
state that there is only 1 message a day when he has been very cooperative. He was told to shut it off, and he shut it off immediately. I think he understands that he's already on under the public scrutiny with this sign, and I don't think he's going to do anything in the future to jeopardize that. I don't know that we need to say 1 message a day, but maybe just something with a little bit more foresight towards those that are surrounding those abutters and with consideration to the abutters in the future.
What I don't think we want is 3 messages on 1 viewing like
No,
that.
correct.
Are you saying like
I
6 hours of this
Well,
message?
if we just stick with the bylaw, it says no more than 1 an hour, right?
1 in 60 seconds.
One every
60
60
seconds.
1 a minute, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if there's an event or something the night of, right now he might want to broadcast a holiday message,
Yeah, right.
and then around 6 o'clock the congregation
Change it
meets
to
at
something
4
else.
o'clock. He may want to change that message. It could be a little bit difficult with that 24-hour cycle to broadcast just 2 messages a day.
I don't know, even.
Well, I wasn't, maybe I'm just not thinking right here, but I was thinking that it's not going to change. I mean, I don't mind changing the message, but then it's not going to change every minute.
In other words, have
Right?
one.
If you have 1 message and it's there, and then you want to change that particular message during the day to say something else,
Correct.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm more opposed to every minute, every
Sure.
5 minutes, something like that.
Understood.
It changes.
Yeah, agreed, absolutely.
Okay, so-
It does change instantaneously. If it were changing instantaneously repetitively,
Right,
that's when it becomes.
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
But if it's just a message, it serves the same purpose as a tree that you've passed by 100 days in a row.
Right.
You almost don't even recognize. It's the same situation with this message. If it's been broadcasting for 5 hours and then you drive, if you leave in the morning and come back at night, because that's along the path of your commute to work, it is nice having the ability to change that message at least one time so that you can catch them leaving and coming back.
Yeah, I'm not opposed, that's fine, I'm not opposed to that.
Thank you.
I was more opposed to just
Multiple.
The
a rotating
repetitive-
message that changes even 5 minutes, I think. It's not
Totally
really
understood.
necessary to do that, so. Only because it is a neighborhood, there are
Sure.
people, so it's going to be distracting to those people in that neighborhood.
To the
as well,
residents,
so,
yep.
yeah.
And,
So, I mean, you could say 3 messages per day or something.
yeah. I'm not,
Again, not constant.
But not a
Just a
not
set
rotating,
message.
yeah.
Maybe with at least an hour grace period. No greater than 3 messages broadcasted a day with a 10-minute grace period, an hour grace period, just so that we can kind of hone in on the stipulation.
Yep.
yeah.
Again, this is all new ground here because
Sure.
it's in a residential area and it's,
Of course.
Yeah.
you know. Right.
Yeah, so you could have 3 messages per day with the 1 message changing every hour.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's certainly agreeable.
Yeah, I like that. Well done. It gives him some flexibility.
Yeah. And it's not changing on.
Right, it's-
Now, what do we talk about, the brightness or the,
I think you just have to
okay, go
go
by
by
that?
what the bylaw
Okay.
says. and
Yeah.
All right.
These guys are gonna enforce it. so.
Very good.
Right, yeah. All right. You want to attempt a motion?
Yeah, we do two, one for the special permit
Yeah.
and one for the waiver. So I would move that on the petition of ID Sign Group for a special permit under 175-58.2I for a digital sign or electronic sign, that we grant the special permit with a condition that there be no more than 3 messages per day, or per 24-hour period, let's say, not day.
Perfect.
Per 24-hour period with at least, with one message, or all messages, how's he going to term this? With each message having to have a 1-hour period of time that it's
Grace period,
displayed.
yeah.
Grace
yeah.
Grace period
Yeah.
of one message changing every hour.
Yeah,
You got it?
yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
And then
So-
on the
so-
waiver, again, on the petition of ID Sign Group for a waiver under 175-58.3.B, that we grant a waiver for the installation of a third sign, I guess is what we're looking for, yeah, right? As a literal enforcement, we did, that there is a hardship.
Right.
And that third sign is where now? On
It's
the building? Or
No, it's
on
at-
there? Okay,
yeah.
all right. All set?
Yep.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you for
All right,
that.
you very
good luck
much.
with that.
I appreciate the help.
Okay.
The next item on our agenda is the petition of Abington Holdings, Inc. for a special permit under 175-21A4, multi-unit dwelling to allow renovation of third floor in existing residence to create sixth dwelling unit, one bedroom. The property is located at 1011 Bedford Street on Assessor's Map 60, Lot 25, in the Highway Commercial Zone. And
Sean Riley, 500 Washington Street, attorney for the applicant and owner, which is Abington Holdings, Inc. We submitted the zoning board of appeals application together with a plot plan, the assessor's maps, the assessor's cards, and the floor plan of the proposed unit. This is an existing structure on Route 18, next door to Pizing's, is the best way to describe it. The property is a 3-story residential dwelling with a detached separate dwelling. And the 3-story dwelling has 2 two-bedroom units and 2 one-bedroom units. The detached building has 1 one-bedroom unit. The proposal is to build out the 3rd floor of the main building, which, as winter approaches, the LaPointes like to go through some of their properties. They do renovations, they'll do paint, they'll do any sort of upgrades. And this is one of those winter projects where they would be converting the 3rd floor into the 1-bedroom, which you see right there. The property is already connected to water and sewer. We already have existing parking on the premises that exceeds the parking requirement, including if we include the addition of this 1-bedroom unit. 12 spaces are required. We have 13 off-site. There would be no change to the footprints of the buildings. There'd be interior work done in the 3rd floor, and you would see perhaps a dormer on, up in the top. And there is an existing fire escape in this building, which would just be extended up to that 3rd floor entrance. So there's no change to, or overloading of any of water or sewer. There's no change to drainage, because there is no site work being proposed. There's really no, minimal changes to the building itself. So nothing would be overloaded under the terms that are required under the grant, for a grant of a special permit, and creates no hazards to health, safety, or welfare. The LaPointes, I'm sure you know, have a good reputation of maintaining their property, and this is just them going forward with it. It also is, their goal is, if this would be approved, they would also fully outfit the building with a sprinkler system, a fire sprinkler system. So it would just increase the safety for all of the residents in all of the units of this building. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, because I think it pretty much speaks for itself, so I'd love, if you have any questions, Glenn Senior and Glenn Junior LaPointe are with me here tonight, and more than happy to try to answer any questions if you think I've overlooked anything in my presentation or in my application materials.
This is a multifamily now.
Correct.
Does it have a special permit for,
This has been, I don't know how old it is. I didn't go back through the history of it, to be honest with you.
so
It's in the
fact
highway.
that you're adding this additional unit triggers the fact that you think you need a special permit at this point?
Yeah.
You can't just put it up there without a special permit, or?
That's what some people do, and I don't think that's legal. I've been working with the building department. This is the right way to do it, I believe, is to come to the zoning board, identify the neighbors, notify the neighbors, and make sure that you have enough parking and water and sewer is not an issue. So we're trying to do it the right way, put it out there on the table, grant the special permit, the work would be done.
Is the roof gonna be ripped off or anything like that, or is it
No, I think, if anything, there's going to be dormers, I believe, on the
dormers put
side.
in?
There'll be a dormer on the driveway side towards the Zings.
Yeah.
Okay.
The heading up there.
What's up there now? Is it just an attic or?
Just a big attic.
Big attic.
Empty.
That's Glen LaPointe.
On the point, talking for the record. Glenn Senior.
You guys have any questions?
I have no other questions, no?
I don't either. No.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Then I guess entertain a motion to close the public part of this hearing.
Second,
Your motion?
make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't see any reason not to grant this.
No.
No, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, make more efficient use of an existing property and put the sprinklers in is a great idea.
Yeah.
Not injurious, it's not injurious to the public health, safety, welfare, morals, or the
And
company.
the parking too for it isn't like it's being over.
Yeah. And it's a
Yeah,
multifamily now, so.
yeah.
you're right.
The highway too, I mean, it's,
Yeah. So I would make a motion on the petition of Abington Holdings, Inc. for a special permit under section 175-21A4 multi-unit dwelling to allow renovation of third floor and existing residence to create a sixth dwelling unit, a one-bedroom unit. The property is located at 1101 Bedford Street on Assessors Map 60, Lot 25 in the highway commercial zone.
The address was actually 1011.
I'm sorry, 1011.
Is it 1011?
1011, yeah.
1011.
Did I
Yeah.
not say that? 1011 Bedford Street, yeah.
okay. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Well,
gentlemen.
good luck. Good luck.
Okay, the last item on our agenda for this evening is the petition of Abington Investments LLC for variances under 175-37C3 for a 20-foot front setback and 4-foot rear setback variance to allow two-story all residential building to be constructed in the, what's the TOD, the
Transit-oriented development.
Oriented development, that's right. The property is located at 198 Center Avenue on Assessor's Map 24, lots 9 and 21 in the transit-oriented development zone. That's right down below. And Mr. Riley is here on this one as well.
Yes, hi, my name is Attorney Sean Riley, 500 Washington Street. I'm here representing Abington Investments LLC and the principals, which are who are with me tonight, Glenn LaPointe and Glenn LaPointe Jr. This is property at 198 Center Avenue, which is essentially on the corner of Center Avenue, 123, and Quincy Street, which is a one-way street. I've submitted through the zoning board office, the building department office, our zoning application, along with a project description, along with elevation drawings of our proposed two-story buildings, and then elevation drawings of an optional three-story mixed-use building. I also included copies of the dimensional requirements chart, the dimensional chart from section 175-29, and also the assessor's records and information. This is an interesting project. The Transit-Oriented Development District is the district that is near the commuter rail station. And the intention of new development in the TOD, or the Todd District, you might hear, is to generate housing that basically services the commuter rail. It allows for buildings to be built within 5 feet of the front yard, and it encourages multifamily housing. It actually doesn't allow 1 or 2 families. You may probably be aware as a zoning board that the state is actually about to implement, or require the town to implement MBTA zoning, as we're calling it, which would essentially allow certain multifamily structures as of right, meaning we don't have to get a zoning permit for that type of use. It doesn't take away the role of the zoning board for setback variances and lot coverage issues, or Conservation Commission control, or planning board control, but there are certain things the state is trying to force at us. This property has, I've sat down with the building department, with Marion and the building inspector, and we've gone over the proposal here, because the Todd District has an interesting quirk, which is the reason we're here today. And I am going to be returning to you in about 2 or 3 months, maybe 4 months, with the exact same project for additional permits, and I'll explain why. It's a multi-step process. The proposal is to build a structure, a building, on the corner of Quincy and Center Avenue, which is shown on the plan there. If it was the TOD district allows, as I mentioned, the building to be up within 5 feet of the street, because they want to allow quick pedestrian access to the sidewalks, walk right down the street to get to the commuter rail. That's the design of the Todd district. And you can also be within 20 feet of the rear line, 10 feet of a sideline. You can actually get to 0 feet of a sideline if the planning board allows that. We're not going there. So we could build a mixed-use building as shown on the plan, in the exact location shown on the plan, which is 5 feet off of Center Ave and 5 feet off of Quincy Street. And that being shown up there, and what's included in your packet, is the proposed mixed-use building that could be built in that location. It's a 3-story building which would have commercial garages on the bottom, and would have 8 units on the 2nd and 3rd floor, total 4 units in each floor, total of 8 units. We would rather not build that building. We would rather build the 2-story all-residential building, which is also in your packet, and which Marion is showing there. Sometimes these black and white images don't give you a good image. What I would point you to is maybe Steve Gosselin's building in North Abington, on the corner of North Ave and Adams Street, across from the gas station, the Baptist Church. That's the kind of the style. 4 units, 1-bedroom units on the first floor, 4 units on the 2nd floor. So why don't we just build the 2-story all-residential building? Because there's a quirk in this TOD bylaw, which one part of it says the building can be 5 feet off the street. There's another part that says, well, if you go all residential, you have to be 25 feet off of every lot line. But the planning board also has to grant a special permit to allow it to be all residential. So we're coming here tonight to ask for a variance to the setback regulations from that 25-foot rule, to allow us to put the building right where it's shown on your plan, where we have a right to put it if we add garages. Commercial garages, I'm not talking about residential garages, I'm talking leasing it out to contractors and things like that. And then we would next be going to the planning board with our site plan review and with a special permit application to ask them to approve the use of the building, meaning 2-story residential only. That's what we're asking the town to issue permits for. After site plan review is done, and all the drainage is reviewed, and all of the buffers and the parking and the lighting is reviewed at the planning board, we would then return to you with that final site plan, because another quirk here with this property, this is technically in the Watershed Protection Overlay District. Not because of Island Grove Pond, because of the Myers Avenue wells, which are not on the other side of Center Ave, they're on the other side of Summer Street. The original Watershed Protection District didn't come across Center Avenue. There was a recent update, well, not too recent now, several years ago it was updated, and there's a little piece that cuts across Center Avenue that's in the Watershed protection district, the well protection district, basically. And lo and behold, we're in it. So that requires us to come to you, the zoning board, for a special permit to allow us to construct in the watershed, as long as we can demonstrate that the drainage that is designed meets all of the criteria under the watershed protection bylaw. We'll come back to you for that after the town's engineer reviews and approves the drainage. So that's why I'm saying it's a multi-step process. Once that hypothetically is approved, we would also go to the Conservation Commission, only because, as you can see on the plan, the far right bottom, there's a small area of wetlands down there. We're not building in the wetlands, we're not filling any wetlands, but we're within 100 feet. Part of our retention pond would be out there. We'd be creating more wetlands in the area, but we need permission to do that. We also own about 2 acres or so of actual Island Grove Pond, the LaPointes do. Part of this project would be, if approved, if we can get the zoning permits, the the planning board permits and the conservation permits, it's our intention to donate everything to the right of that line, which is basically the Island Grove Pond. Right now, the town doesn't own the whole pond. We would donate it, so the town, for the first time, would have ownership of the entire pond. I don't believe they are missing, quote-unquote, any other pieces. Maybe they are, maybe that, but we donate this part to the town. But that's at the end of the project. So we're here tonight because of that quirk in the bylaw that says, on one page, it can be 5 feet, but on another page, it says it's got to be 25 if you go with the all residential. So if you were to approve the variances that are requested, it allows us to build a 2-story residential building exactly where we show you on the plan. We would then go to the planning board and say, the zoning board has allowed it to be residential, now you need to take a vote, the planning board, to also agree to make it residential. And then they have another, more in-depth series of review regarding the site plan, all the details that we have to go through the site plan, which is scheduled for February, I believe it is. I don't mean to make it confusing, but it's just the way the bylaw is written. And so theoretically, if you were to deny the variance, then we would be left with building the 3-story mixed-use building. Let me tell you the hardship for this. Marion, if you can kind of center that again.
Do you want me to zoom back out?
No, just if you,
Just so she can show the lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there are other provisions of the Todd District. If we wanted to build the all-residential building and try to maintain 20 feet off the lot line, it's almost impossible. If you try to build in the corner near Center Ave in Quincy Street, you have to stay 25 feet off the front, 25 feet off the back, 25 feet off the side. So you're not going to be able to fit it up there in that area. So you start trying to bring it down towards the bottom of that plan. But now you get within 25 feet of the other lot line. So now you try to move it out back with a parking lot shown. And you're still bumping into lot lines. Plus, the TOD says you can't have parking in the front yard. The front parking has to be behind the building, or you need a variance. So one way or another. So the only place we could build where we have room would be out back, right next to the wetlands. But you can't do that without getting a whole other plethora of permits. So there's a hardship in the shape of this property, a hardship in the topography, meaning the soil conditions of this property, wetlands in the back. The pond, even though we own it, is of no use to us, can't build in the pond. So that is the best location for the building, and as I said before, it is allowed by the Todd District if you make it mixed use. We're asking the zoning board and the planning board to agree that the better use for this property would be residential only, and a smaller building, meaning 2 stories. This property is surrounded by residential properties. There is no commercial in this immediate area. You have to go down to Park Avenue before you get to commercial areas. Across the street on Quincy Street is a 6-family and a 3-family. Across the street on Center Avenue, there's 3 families right across the street from us. And there's a series of 1-families and 2-families to our left and on Quincy Street, on Center Avenue.
So what about the property that's on now? It's a 2-family?
2-family, The two-family, well, that two-family building's staying. That's shown on the bottom there. We're leaving that house, Mr. Buckley's house, as most people know it as. That's staying there.
You have a pretty complex-looking lot there, I'd say.
It is. And you can see all the zigzags, that's existing.
Can you show me where that house is again?
It's right here.
Mr. Buckley's.
Isn't it this one here?
Oh, I didn't get one of those.
This is existing 198 dwelling.
Yeah.
Okay, I see now.
It's ghosted, they call
And then
it,
Oh.
there's another one up there.
because
Is
it's not
Yeah,
part of
that's
this
what
hearing.
proposed.
this a
This is a vacant lot, currently.
Yes, yes.
pretty notchy looking lot?
We sat down with the building department and, before we filed anything, and said, these are the issues we're dealing with, and I wanted to explain to you, if I simply filed this application for a frontage setback, Marion would be calling me saying, what the heck are you doing? What about all the other stuff you have to go through? And as I explained, we have to do it in sequential order. I need to be able to go to the planning board to say whether you guys approved the setback to allow for the residential or not. We would then go to the planning board and ask them to confirm a special permit for the residential. They would also work on the site plan issues, as I said.
Now, you're saying the existing house is staying,
Correct.
and it's staying, period, right?
Yeah.
So you're not tearing that down later on and,
No, the only thing we're doing there is right now, as you look at the house now, there's paved driveway on the left of it. We're moving it on the right where you can see it shown actually there.
so the house is staying there?
The house is staying there. We're actually, the current driveway that is there doesn't have any drainage system. It just flows.
Because when I look at this, I go, wow, this
We're putting
could
in.
be even a bigger project if the building was torn down over here.
Oh, yeah, if we tore it down, we could have a bigger residence or, yes, but we're not looking to do that.
If you were to build the mixed use,
Mhm.
is there a requirement, I'm just reading this quickly, is there a requirement that you go in front of the planning board for that?
For site plan review,
Just for site plan.
not for the
Not for the
use.
special permit.
Right, it's allowed as of right. We can build a 3-story, frankly, a 4-story building if we wanted to, as long as we make it mixed use. I brought a copy of the TOD bylaw, just.
I have it here too. So.
That's on page 2, it has that 25-foot section, and I
Yeah.
already gave you the other section that shows.
I do kind of disagree with you saying that's a quirk. I mean, this is obviously a pretty extensive paragraph as to residential uses within the TOD that are not subject to the bylaw. So somebody wrote this purposely,
Yeah.
Oh,
right? It's
Yes.
not a- It's not really a quirk, it's,
only because if you, well, no, I'm sorry, maybe that's the wrong word. If you look up at the dimensional chart, it says 5 feet.
yeah.
Okay, but then if you go in there, and it doesn't you can read it like I do, Andy, but it doesn't specifically say all residential buildings must be 25 feet, but it has to mean that,
Yeah.
the way it's plugged in at the place where it is located.
But I think I'm not sure when this particular bylaw was drafted, but they put it in there, exclusive residential uses have stricter setbacks for, I'm assuming for a reason, not just, I didn't just pull 25 feet out of the air.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from, because other residential uses in that whole area don't have that same setback
Yeah.
rule. Actually, the TOD wanted to encourage commercial use and
Right.
mixed uses near the train, so you could theoretically stop and get a coffee, have apartments above or whatever. But as I mentioned, we don't believe that this is a good location with that style building. Number one, because it's 100% surrounded by residences. Number two, Quincy Street's a one-way street. You don't want business traffic pulling in, not knowing, not looking at the sign, it just ripens up for problems. We think that the 2-story residential use is the best use, and.
And is that the 8 units you're talking about?
8 units, yeah. And it conforms to the intent of the TOD district, the multifamily near the train. It conforms to the dimensional chart regulations, 100%. But in order to do it, you need the variance for the 25-foot variance.
And if this was not an odd-shaped lot, then you might be able to get in there Within
25 feet.
Within the 25.
Yeah, sure.
It is an odd-shaped lot, there is no
Yeah.
doubt about
No
that. I
doubt
think you
about
meet that requirement, definitely.
Yeah.
But can you explain a little bit more on the hardship? As to, I mean,
Sure, it's just, again, impossible to locate it elsewhere and conform
but
to the 20.
that has more to do with the shape, the lot, the
Yeah.
oddness of, but what's like, is it a financial hardship or?
Yep. Well, yes, it becomes a hardship in here in that, here are my notes.
Yeah.
So we talked about the shape, the corner lot, you have two front lot lines, you have the 25-foot from every line requirement, and the pond and the wetlands out there. A literal enforcement requiring a mixed use creates a hardship in that you're forcing them, not a good word, but we'd be required to put a commercial business where simply we don't think it belongs, where I don't think the neighbors would appreciate it, and it's going to be hard to attract small businesses to go into that property.
So, yeah, so they're, as far as trying to rent something out there,
Empty storefronts.
Yeah,
That's why, honestly, we said if we have to go mixed use, we would do commercial garage space, because that's more likely to be rented. It's not the prettiest thing. We showed you what the building would look like. Essentially, if you're on Center Avenue, the first floor wall would be a solid wall, because it's the back of a garage. It's not as attractive a building, and it's a much taller building. It's, I think it was 34 feet tall. It's shown in what we submitted to you. There's no substantial detriment to granting the variance because the smaller buildings, it conforms with the normal TOT setbacks, and it also helps us conform to the uses that already exist here. I understand the desire for businesses to be near the train, but this is literally on the edge of the TOD district. And then there's R30 beyond. If we were closer to the
Is
train,
Quincy Street at R30? Do you know?
Quincy's an R30.
It is R30.
Yeah. So, I know when you get a notice in the mail, it's scary, because you don't know, you get this thing and you don't know what it is until you get here. And that's what we're trying to do, but we have to go through a significant procedural process to get all the permits and make sure we satisfy everything in the bylaw. I know there's some neighbors who are here tonight for this property, and I would encourage you to go to the site plan review meeting with the planning board, because we're only talking tonight about this specific issue, the setback. The site plan review will talk about parking, drainage, lights, trees, all of that stuff in much greater detail. That won't be a one-night shot.
This is 5 feet, right?
Do you guys have any
This
more
is the
questions?
residential area. Right. This is the residential one?
Do you guys have any other questions?
Well, it's just, it says 25 feet from lot
Right,
line.
that's what he's looking to get around. That's why he wants the variance.
So he wants the 5 feet. He wants to knock it to 5 feet.
And I would remind, another part of the hardship is,
Yeah, yeah.
the TOD does not allow a one-family or a two-family to be built here
Right.
without a variance.
Right.
So it's like,
But there's a reason for that, too.
yeah, right.
Yeah. So Rich was just
I'm just
confirming
looking at
that the setback that you're
boundary.
looking for is a 5-foot setback as opposed to the 25 feet, right?
Correct, because
With
we
with
want to
a
stay
with a
5 feet.
two-story,
Because right here, it says 25
is
feet.
required, the 25 is required on the
Correct.
two-story building.
We're asking for a 20-foot relief so we can stay
Right,
5 feet
right.
off the street.
Yeah.
I've also asked for 4 feet off the back, which really, if that, because right now we're 20 feet off of the back lot line. Okay? Not 20, if the,
Can you look at that?
24
Can you
feet?
put the-
You mean 24 feet?
we are, hold on, let me pull my plan out.
Can you pull that up again?
Yep, she's got it.
Move it over. Yeah, it's 24.
I'm sorry, you're right, the plan shows 24, correct. So, we're 24 feet, so we asked for a 20-foot front setback off the two streets, which allows us to stay at least 5 feet away, and a 4-foot setback off the rear, which allows us to move the building to within 20 feet of that back line. So really, that would allow us to pull the building a little bit more than 5 feet off of the street. Gives us some more landscaping room. You know what I mean?
It's tight.
It,
Yeah, but
everything,
He can build it without this, they can build a three-story building
Right,
without us granting the variance.
Yeah, it
As
just
of right,
conforms
they
in
have
every
to.
way for mixed use.
Yeah.
right, and the garage doors will be on that side,
Right.
and it'll be a bigger building, okay.
Yeah.
Our thought was, if the variances are approved, that's as close as the building could get to the street. We may actually pull it back 2 or 3 feet.
Because you want to get the 8 units in there,
No, it's just so we can get a little bit more green space between the building and the street.
but you want 8 units. You're not going to cut it down to 6, you want 8 units.
Right, yes.
So the footprint of the building isn't going to change for that. You would just move it back a little bit if you could.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you moved it back, that's going to affect your 24-foot setback then, won't it?
But one of the variances requested is the 4-foot variance to the rear. So it would-
Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
So it would allow us to go back,
Yeah, yeah.
as long as we're 20 feet off.
Right.
Just a little wiggle room, because again, talking to the building inspector, he said, we might want some wiggle room because of foundations,
Yeah.
and kind of pull away from the sidewalk a little bit more, things like that.
In the parking lot, that's kind of strange, it's not really square, is it?
Well, again, that's going to be up to the planning board.
Planning
It's all
board, right.
Site
Yeah,
plan
we'll-
stuff, so we don't have any
You can't
control
have the
over
parking
that.
out
We
front.
can control this.
So the variance would be for
Variance.
that building, it wouldn't be
That's
for
right.
any other buildings being built or anything like that on the
Right.
property.
That's it.
And again, you go back to the 5 foot on the other building, not have to worry about anything on a larger
You
building.
can build it as of right without coming
This
here.
is practical to put a commercial use in there when you got a
Right.
one-way street on one side. and
Yeah,
a busy street in front. It's just.
Yeah,
inviting
I'll tell you right
problems.
now.
That goes to the hardship, I guess.
right.
And if it becomes residential use, the driveway off Quincy Street is likely going to be eliminated, okay? But we have to
Okay.
show this because this is part of the whole plan development for phasing.
Because you don't want people to go up the one-way.
So, so we're asking for a setback variance from you tonight, technically the 3 variances, Center Ave frontage, Quincy Street frontage, and then the 4-foot rear lot.
Okay.
In essence, what we're asking you to do is support our proposal to move forward with a 2-story all-residential use here, to be completely honest, but this is an automatic and necessary first step.
And you have the adequate parking,
Yes.
and what part of the land were they gonna give up? Oh, down here,
The
the
pond.
town?
Yeah.
Down here? Okay. And that's all watershed protected, okay?
No, it's not.
No, I'm talking about above it. I'm just looking above it.
Above.
I'm not looking
No.
down here.
Island Grove Pond is not part of the Well Watershed Protection District.
No, I'm just looking here. It says watershed protected district
Yeah.
off to
Yeah,
the,
we're-
off this way, to
Yeah,
the left,
yeah,
right?
right.
Which is why you'd have to come back
Right.
in the future.
We will be back with you with a final design site plan with approved drainage to go over the resulting details.
If it is.
Yes, if it gets
Well,
approved.
and he can build his 3-story, and he'd still have to, I guess you'd still have to go
Right.
back to the watershed.
Yes,
Right, so
correct.
either way.
All right. Any more questions?
I don't know.
Any more questions?
See if this-
Is there anyone from the public who would like to come up and speak? Come on up and let us know your name and address, and have your say.
Hi, Alexander Labrie. I'm the owner of 202 Center Ave, which is adjacent to former Mr. Buckley's home, as I've learned the town calls it. I would just like to say that as a resident that purchased our home in 2021, we purchased it in a residential area. And as, I'm sorry, Sean has kindly said, there are no other commercial properties in the area, so putting one in there, especially from what I understand of the 3-story, 3 separate spaces, is that correct?
3-story building, and it'll be garages on the bottom. She's going to show it to you.
So potentially 3 separate commercial
Business,
tenants.
3 separate
Yeah,
businesses.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I would just be advised against enforcing them to have to build a mixed-use commercial property, especially as you had mentioned Center Ave being busy. particularly where our property and this property are located. We're at the very bottom of a hill, and there's a lot of traffic that comes speeding down that hill. So adding in the element of commercial property and garages, I would imagine would be trucks and other types of vehicles coming out of that area could potentially be dangerous. So that's really the comment that I have to make, is just be advising against enforcing having to build a 3-story mixed-use building to get the variance that they need.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public portion of this
Do you
hearing?
guys have anything to add, or?
No, you guys good? Yeah?
Yeah.
Make a motion to close it to the public.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. This property looks like a big conundrum.
Yeah.
They gotta start somewhere. I don't see any harm in, especially with the neighbors wanting it to stay all residential. I just don't see any harm in letting it move forward, because it's got a lot of other approvals to go through. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I think the commercial idea is harmful, not good.
Also, it's a big, blocky, ugly facade,
Oh, yeah.
blank facade towards the street. It just doesn't look good.
I mean, this is not perfect either, let's just say
No,
that.
No, I know, but we have to
it's
live
not-
with the TOD thing.
Right, but it's not perfect, I wouldn't say,
No.
5 feet from the street is a good idea, but,
5 feet from the street is what would be built there.
if
Either
it
way.
was, yeah, I got you, I got that,
So that's
I
what
got
the
it.
zoning-
But I'm just saying,
I know, I don't disagree, but it's,
but all in all, it looks like a good project, so. Again, it's just for this section right here, talking about the existing building staying.
Right, and I think there's another one over here that's staying too. I don't think they own that one, but, yeah.
so, I mean, they have to hit all the, we just had our training, right?
Right.
As to what we need to get as far as the variance
That's
goes. So
correct.
that's, So I think based on the shape of the lot is very odd-shaped lot. So
Very,
I think
yes,
they have
yeah.
that. Mr. Rowley explained some of the hardship,
Right.
which I tend to agree with as far, if you had to make it a commercial building, commercial real estate is not in a great spot right now.
And not, in this particular area, it's
Right.
not a good spot for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It can be, the relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. I think that's been clear.
Yep.
And it can be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the zoning bylaws.
Yeah.
I think they've hit all four.
Yeah, and also they're
All
donating
four
land to the town.
We can't
which
take
is-
that into
I
consideration.
know, but that's just my mind thinking.
No, I think that's very nice,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that that's
I think
part of
they,
it, but
I think they meet all the criteria for variance.
definitely.
Yeah. I'd certainly rather see a 2-story building
Yeah.
there than a 3-story, especially with a 3-story with a blank.
And the
front.
commercial part is just not, like you said, they can't build
Access to
it.
that is garbage, 'cause the depth of the lot right there
Mm-hmm.
into the building from the back is terrible.
Right.
So I'll make a motion if you want.
Yes, please.
On the petition of Abington Investments LLC for variances under Section 175-37C3 for a 20-foot front setback and 4 feet rear setback variances to allow 2-story all residential building to be constructed in the TOD zone in substantial compliance with the plan from Strong Point dated, what's the date?
November 7th,
November 7th,
2023.
2023. The property is located at 198 Center Ave on Assessors Map 24, lots 9 and 21 in the transit-oriented development zone.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
And thanks for explaining that, Mr. Riley.
Yep.
My wife tells me wait to start because we're going to finish the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Any motion to close the meeting?
Are we done though? We've got everything?
That's all the agenda items.
All right.
Move to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. We're good.